Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are digging into a really fascinating stack of sources you sent over, all focused on this single powerful concept, reversibility.
Mm.
And it's not just a word, right? It's more like a tool.
Mm.
It sort of reframes how we think about commitment, how we calculate risk, and I think critically, how we often trap ourselves.
Unnecessarily, yeah.
Yeah.
Just by asking the wrong question from the very beginning.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. What the sources do is they lay out this really concise, really concrete framework for assessing any choice, big or small.
Right.
So the mission for this deep dive is to give you a shortcut, a clear guide to defining what can be undone versus what absolutely can't. It's the path to feeling confident about moving forward without that, that crushing weight of feeling stuck.
And that feeling of being stuck, that's the real enemy here, isn't it? It's the enemy of progress. And this isn't just like abstract theory we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's about getting past that analysis paralysis and actually putting these ideas into action. I mean, if you leave here with just one core principle, it should be this central question. What can I undo and what can't I?
Mm-hmm.
If you make that the starting point for every big decision, you are immediately operating with so much more clarity.
I've definitely noticed how some decisions just linger longer than others. They don't feel urgent. There's no deadline breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
But they feel heavy. And it's because you're not stressed about the timeline. You're stressed about the finality of it all.
Precisely. And that feeling of heaviness, that friction, the sources call it discernment. It's not negativity.
Discernment. I like that. So it's not procrastination. It's my brain doing a background check.
That's a great way to put it, is your brain asking, okay, if I choose this path,
Yeah.
what's my exit cost? Am I going to be trapped here?
Okay.
And that gets us right to the formal definitions. So reversibility is basically the measure of your ability to step back from a decision without, suffering serious debilitating damage.
So it's your escape hatch.
It's your escape hatch. A truly reversible decision allows for adjustment, for learning, it lets you hit a pause button, and most importantly, it has a clear, low-cost exit.
So an example would be, what? Signing up for a free 2-week trial of some software.
Perfect example. The time and money are minimal. The exit is just a click, you learn something, and if it fails, who cares? No big deal.
Okay, so what's the opposite?
The opposite is irreversibility. These are the decisions that you just can't undo, or at least not without a serious, lasting, maybe even catastrophic impact.
Like merging your business with another company.
Exactly. Once you sign that paperwork, you've crossed a threshold. Your options become extremely limited, and your old reality is basically gone for good.
And that's really the currency of this whole deep dive, isn't it? Recognizing that difference.
Yes.
Because that difference, it shapes every important choice we make, whether we realize it or not.
But this all feels like it runs completely counter to so much of the cultural noise out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we are constantly bombarded with this motivational stuff that just celebrates pure commitment.
Right.
It makes you feel like if you leave yourself an exit, you're somehow not serious. You're not really in it.
Yes. The language is so intense, and honestly, a lot of the time, it's reckless. Go all in,
Burn the boats, that's the classic.
jump, and the net will appear. These phrases get romanticized because they sound heroic, but the sources show they're based on some really dangerous assumptions.
Dangerous how? I mean, they sound brave, and sometimes, let's be honest, not having an exit is the only thing that forces you to execute.
That's a fair point. Sometimes necessity is a huge motivator.
Mm-hmm.
But when we promote this zero reversibility approach as a strategy, we're making 3 assumptions that are almost never true for the average person.
Which are?
1, that you have unlimited energy. 2, that you have an unlimited capacity to recover from failure. And 3, an unlimited tolerance for loss.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't have all 3 of those, that pure commitment isn't bravery. It's more like blind gambling.
That's a really important distinction. Gambling versus strategy. It separates reckless action from calculated movement.
And this brings us to one of the most interesting specific findings in your sources. It's about age and commitment. The sources highlight that after 55, pure commitment isn't brave. It's often unnecessary. And we should probably sit with that for a second.
Why 55 specifically? Is that just about retirement?
It's more than that. It's mainly about your time horizon and your recovery capacity. A 25-year-old can burn the boats on a startup, fail miserably, and still have 40 years of career runway to recover.
Their time reversibility is massive.
Exactly. But for someone over 55, that career runway is much, much shorter. Their capital's often already doing a job.
Mm.
Retirement, family support.
So the margin for error is just smaller.
Much smaller. A huge irreversible risk at that stage requires not just money, but a recovery timeline they just don't have. They don't need to bet the farm anymore. They can afford to pay for smaller, controlled, reversible experiments instead.
So the lesson isn't just about age, it's about context. It's about being strategic when you have to prioritize sustainability.
Precisely. The core idea is that progress does not require trapping yourself. Reversibility offers a healthier, more sustainable path forward.
Okay, so we've defined the terms, we've debunked the mythology. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the specific tools, the framework for actually measuring this in our own lives.
Yes, this is where it becomes an engineering problem, not an emotional one. You're basically stress testing your commitment before you make it. The sources break it down into 4 dimensions.
And you don't need all 4 to be reversible.
No, not at all. But the more you protect, the safer the decision is, and the more confident you'll feel making it.
Okay, let's start with the first one.
The first dimension is time reversibility. This one's usually the easiest to gauge. It just asks, if this goes wrong, can I stop? Can I hit pause without a huge penalty?
Give me an example of low time reversibility, something we might run into.
That non-refundable year-long gym membership you sign in a fit of New Year's motivation.
Ah, yes, I know that one well.
Or a 3-year certification program that demands all your weekends. If you realize 6 months in that you hate it, you're still paying the price, either in money or mandatory effort.
And high time reversibility.
That's an online course where you can opt out after the first module,
Oh.
or just committing to a new routine for 1 month. You cap the time loss.
Got it. Which connects directly to number 2, financial reversibility.
Exactly. Is the money recoverable, or is the loss capped? And this goes beyond just the price tag it asks. Would losing this money seriously hurt my long-term stability?
So it's not just, can I afford this? It's, can I afford to lose this?
That's the question. A reversible choice is spending $500 on some equipment. You can resell for $400 if it doesn't work out. Your loss is capped at $100.
And an irreversible one.
That's liquidating your retirement fund to sink $50,000 into a friend's restaurant that has no track record. The potential stability loss is catastrophic.
Okay, let's get into the trickier ones, the psychological dimensions. Number 3 is energy reversibility.
This one gets overlooked all the time until you hit burnout. It asks, if this path drains me mentally or emotionally, can I step away to recharge?
Or does it demand my effort no matter what?
Right. A project with high energy reversibility is maybe writing a novel for an hour a day. If you get sick, you just shelve it for a week. The novel will be fine.
And low reversibility.
Signing on as the sole organizer for a big annual community event. If you try to pause, the whole thing fails. You disappoint hundreds of people. The commitment itself demands your energy, trapping you even if you're exhausted.
And that leads to the last one, the stickiest one for a lot of us, I think. Identity reversibility.
This is a big one. It asks, does this choice lock me into a role or a label that I'll struggle to get rid of later? Can I walk away without intense social embarrassment or personal turmoil?
This is where posting your new life plan all over social media can really backfire.
It's a trap we set for ourselves. We think it creates accountability, but really it just kills our flexibility.
So, give me an example.
Okay, person A tells their family, I'm going to try learning woodworking on weekends. That's high identity reversibility. They quit, they just tried a hobby, no big deal.
Right.
Person B quits their high-status corporate job, launches a startup they loudly brand on LinkedIn as the disruptive future of X, changes their bio to founder and visionary.
Oh, no.
If that startup fails 6 months later, walking back into the job market, explaining that failure, coping with the public performance of being a visionary, it's incredibly painful. The identity shift is almost completely irreversible without a real psychological cost.
That fear of looking foolish can be a much stronger trap than losing money.
Absolutely. So these 4 dimensions, time, financial, energy, and identity, they give you the vocabulary to really assess a decision. You can ask yourself, which of these am I protecting and which one is completely exposed?
And this brings us right to the core benefit of thinking this way, which is confidence. Because so many of us think we'll only get confident after we succeed. But the sources, they just completely flip that idea on its head.
They do. And the insight is so crucial. Confidence is not built primarily by success. It comes from knowing you can recover.
That really lands. We think we fear failure, but what we actually fear is being unable to get back up, the loss of control.
That is it, exactly. When people feel paralyzed, it's rarely because they failed at one task. It's because they felt trapped by a past decision. They lost their autonomy.
Reversible steps remove that fear.
They do. Because if you know the step is small enough, the time loss is capped, the financial hit is survivable, you just take the step faster. You learn faster. You move. It turns a big, scary emotional problem into a simple logistics problem.
And that sense of motion is everything. It's better to take a small reversible step and fail than to just sit there for months, terrified.
Which leads us to the simple reframe that everyone can use. Instead of asking that huge, paralyzing question, am I ready to commit my entire future to this?
Yeah, which is impossible to answer.
Impossible.
Instead, you should be asking,
What's the smallest step I can take right now that still protects my 4 dimensions and leaves me the most options?
that's like flipping a switch in your brain.
It is. It bypasses the fear center and turns on the planning center. And it leads to greater confidence and, frankly, just better, more sustainable choices over time.
So what does this all mean? It means we need to stop chasing certainty. Certainty is an illusion, and it's usually gone the moment you actually need it.
What you really need is flexibility, adaptability,
Yeah.
the ability to recalibrate. Reversible decisions give you that room to maneuver.
They let you test things out.
Exactly. You test your ideas, you learn from real data, and you adjust your course without sinking the entire ship and ensuring you have an exit. Building in that flexibility that isn't caution, it's not a lack of drive, it's just good decision-making.
That's the wisdom to take forward. When you start making decisions with reversibility in mind, you stop putting all this unnecessary pressure on yourself and you start optimizing for learning instead.
So here's the final thoughts for you to chew on this week, and it comes straight from the source material. It's about how urgency messes with our thinking.
Mm.
Think back to the last time you felt intense urgency about a decision. The clock was ticking, the offer was about to expire.
A limited time opportunity?
Yes. Was that urgency maybe strategically designed to prevent you from taking the time to ask those 4 crucial reversibility questions about your time, your money, your energy, and your identity? If the pressure is suddenly on, that's your signal to slow way down and check your exits.